This video is about shipping a Beogram 4002 or 4004 turntable. I will discuss how to prepare it for shipping, and I will also show how to package it. For more information, please visit my blog at beolover.blogspot.com or go to my website at www.beolover.com. Okay, before we get going, there are a couple precautions we need to take, and one is of course to unplug the Beogram. The other item of course is to protect your cartridge. So carefully unplug it and put it in a safe place. If you want to ship your Beogram, it's important to take out the platter. The platter is pretty heavy, and so it should be packed separately from the turntable. In order to get the platter out, it is best to remove the aluminum panels so one can lift it out without doing damage to these panels. For that we need to move the plinth forward, and then we can take the plates out. Sometimes it can be difficult to move the plinth forward. If that's the case in your Beogram, then it's time to turn it around and have a look at these tabs here. These tabs are meant to lock the plinth in place, but over time they typically wear out. So if they're still in force, you need to push them out with a screwdriver, and then you can push the plinth forward. Okay, now we're ready to take out the plates, and it's best to take out the small one first. And now we can take the large plate out. And now it's easy to take the platter. The next step is to tighten the transport locks. I usually leave the sub-platter and the belt in when I ship a Beogram, so you can just leave it as this here. But now we have to tighten the transport locks, and there are 3 locks. One is here, one is behind here, the platter, and one is over here. And simply with a screwdriver, counterclockwise, you tighten the screws that are in these locks. And you see how the chassis is being sucked down here as I tighten the screws. So once the screws are tight, the chassis on which the platter rests should be firmly in place, so it shouldn't wiggle anymore here. Okay, now we can put the plates back. And the important thing here is of course that this copper strip is facing the small platter, because that's what holds it up in this region where they come together. The next step is the small platter. And so what you need to pay attention to is that this ledge here goes underneath the large platter but above this copper strip, and that this protrusion down here, that this slides into this copper tab here. So just slide it in from the side. And then it pops in. Okay, now we can push the plinth back to lock the plates into place. Okay, this concludes our preparations. Now it's time to pack the Beogram up. As I pointed out before, we need to pack the platter separately. What I usually do is to wrap it in bubble wrap and then place it inside a standard vinyl shipping container. And that's it for the platter. So for what's to follow, it's best to put the Beogram on a soft surface like a carpet, and we also need some tape. I recommend blue tape by Scotch, and some foam. And this foam here we will use to protect the plinth. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing is to tape down the aluminum panels. And what I usually do is I put a strip of the blue tape onto the panel, and then I add a small piece of that foam, and then I wrap the tape around and affix it to the bottom of the chassis. Here you see it from the bottom, so the foam pads nicely protects the plinth from the tape. Add 4 more strips and the panels are secure. This one here is especially important because it also holds the RPM indicator panel in place, which is only held by clips, and so during transport it can easily pop out and create damages inside the hood. Important is also to never put tape on the keypad because it has a fragile paint surface, and so you definitely don't want to put tape on here and damage this accidentally. Here you see it from the bottom. The next task is to secure the arms. So if you have the original arm clip that came with these turntables, then you can apply it like shown here. But I would definitely add a structure like this here, secured by tape, to make sure that the arms really stay where they need to be. I usually also place a strip of tape across the weight cover, because back here this is also wiggling a little bit, and of course since we have the counterweight in here there is a little bit of mass, and so this strip here makes sure that nothing moves. Okay, now everything is taped down, and so the final step is to fill the cavity under the hood with foam, and so I usually place a thin piece of foam directly on top of the sub platter, and then I add a bigger piece that fills the space under the hood. Here you see the main piece of foam. I made a cutout here that just goes around the arms, and so both the main piece and the smaller piece that I just put underneath here, they hold the sub platter in place when the hood is closed during transport. The next step is to put a plastic bag over the hood. Kitchen garbage bags work great. You can just cut off a piece of them and then they just fit over there very nicely. Now we can close the hood and tape it down. 1 or 2 strips is enough because everything will be held together inside the boxes. So the next step is to wrap the turntable into bubble wrap or some thin layer of foam. And while we do that, we need to make sure that the cables are not inside this wrapper. The reason for that is to prevent damage to the Beogram by metal parts like these prongs on the power plug. And here we go. Bubble wrap and the cables outside. Okay, now it's time to box it up. This here shows the inner box, and I start out by putting a layer of heavy duty foam at the bottom. Then I add the Beogram and I put foam all around it. In the back here we have 2 foam layers, and that enables me to put those cables in between, and so everything is nicely protected from each other. We finish up by putting an additional layer of heavy-duty foam on top. Now it's time to put the inner box into the outer box. The outer box is heavy-duty, so it's a double layer box, and I also start out by putting some foam at the bottom. And now it's time to put some foam on the outside of the inner box. Now it's time to add the remaining parts. So we put the platter and the box with the cartridge on top of that inner box and then finish it up with another foam pad. Here's a peek inside the cartridge box. In this particular case there was also the 4002 Beogram Commander remote control to be packaged. So I put the cartridge in its cartridge container and the remote inside this small box, again padded with foam, and so everything is packed in a really safe way. Time to close it up, add half a roll of packaging tape, and we are done. Okay, now you know how to pack up a Beogram for shipping. Thanks for watching.